Today on Ag News Daily.
We want to make machines easy to operate. Our customers should be put in the situation that they can work with the machines with a high reliability, of course, and earn money with the machines.
Welcome back to the weekly edition of the Ag News Daily podcast. Delaney Howell joined by Michelle Stingler, and we are just a few weeks away from Commodity Classic. It's Super Bowl weekend, a lot going on this time of year, Michelle.
Yeah, and it's warming up a little bit in the Midwest, so that is so good to hear. That spring weather, whatever groundhog you might be watching, maybe an early spring or a late spring, just really excited for that spring weather.
Yes, fun fact for you, because we were texting our Canadian friends the other day, and Canada also has their own version of Puxatawny Phil. Actually, per province, they have a different groundhog. So I didn't know that, but they sent us a whole map that has a breakdown. So if you're interested, I think there's one circulating around social media. But wherever you are, hopefully your groundhog saw its shadow. It didn't here in the United States, which means more winter weather. But like you said, Michelle, temperatures are remaining moderate here across the Midwest. Eastern lake areas remain below normal, however. A strong clipper system is going to be moving through the Great Lakes late this week and bringing snow with it, and another shut of cold air to the eastern parts of the Midwest, while the western parts are going to stay relatively warmer. Looking ahead, warm air is expected to take over next week, opening the door for a few shower systems by mid-February that could provide some drought relief as well. Snow is largely melted across the central and southern plains due to the above normal temperatures we've had, but soil moisture remains limited and drought conditions continue to still spread. Meanwhile, a key feature of the 25-26 winter continues to be a significant snow drought across much of the western United States as well.
Well, there is a lot of crop news this week. One, in fact, was 45Z. We saw some news there. Some biofuel and commodity groups are welcoming the U.S. Treasury Department's proposed rule for the 45C Clean Fuel Production Tax Credit released earlier this week, saying it provides much-needed clarity for farmers and producers. The Renewable Fuels Association says the proposal better aligns with congressional intent by rewarding low-carbon fuel production based on life cycle emissions. RFA President and CEO Jeff Cooper says regulatory certainty is critical for long-term investments, while Senior Vice President Troy Breckenkamp notes the rule helps clear up confusion around, quote, qualified sales and removes indirect land use change penalties from carbon intensity scoring, which could significantly boost the value of the credit for ethanol and soy-based fuels. Corn, soybean, and biodiesel groups also reacted positively, saying the guidance could open new markets, including sustainable aviation fuel, and provide confidence for producers and lenders. National Corn Growers Association President Jed Boyer says access to the aviation sector is important for the long-term viability of farming. Clean Fuels Alliance America adds that the proposal offers market certainty for biodiesel and renewable diesel producers, though questions remain around emissions modeling and on-farm practices. The Treasury will take public comments for this for 60 days, with final guidance expected this summer. Continuum Ag also hosted a press conference shortly after that statement was released. So let's hear some sound bites from Mitchell Hora.
I just like the savings up front.
It's quick and easy. The simplicity of it is very nice.
10% more is just free money. So I guess it'd be crazy not to use it.
What do all these quotes have in common? They're all from real farmers and retailers, and they're all talking about saving money on Corteva Agriscience crop protection products with True Choice. See how much you can save at corteva.us/true.
And it also talks a lot about kind of the emissions calculation process and how to turn that emissions rate into the actual tax credit rate. It's kind of clunky because, especially with SAF, they've changed the rates around a little bit, and it had to clean all of that stuff up. Overall, it sets 45Z going forward, cleans things up, was a very, very complete and thorough rule, way more than, at one point we thought it was just going to be skinny guidance and not a whole lot to it. This seems to be the complete and full thing, and there will be this public comment period. Things could still change a little bit, but my understanding is between a proposed rule and a final rule, doesn't change a whole lot. Now, one of the biggest other updates that came out of this rule today, though, we didn't know what route or what model was going to be used for the farmer CI scores. It could be the GREET FDCIC developed by the U.S. Department of Energy, or it could be the USDA FDCIC developed by the Department of Ag. Okay, GREET FDCIC versus USDA FDCIC. Either one, I think, can work. We, of course, have preference on what we would like to see, what's better for the farmers, what we think is more thorough. But what the IRS announced here today is that there's going to be a new FDCIC created specifically for 45Z called the 45Z FDCIC.
Well, thank you again to Mitchell. Exciting news there for Continuum Ag and quite a few other folks in the carbon space as well. As we continue down on the renewable fuels path, the U.S. ethanol exports set a new record in 2025, according to recent Census Bureau data. Through November, exports totaled nearly 2 billion gallons, already topping the previous record set back in 2024. And with 1 month left to report, exports were on pace to exceed 2 billion gallons for the first time, accounting for about 13% of the U.S.'s total ethanol production, which is also a record. Renewable Fuels Association President and CEO Jeff Cooper says export growth provided a major boost to the ethanol industry in 2025, highlighting strong global demand for affordable, cleaner energy. He notes that roughly 1 out of every 8 gallons of U.S. ethanol is now exported, helping also lower fuel costs and improve air quality in countries around the world.
Well, in another piece of EPA news, the agency is expected to reapprove dicamba for over-the-top use on tolerant soybeans and cotton for the 2026 growing season. According to the Washington Post, the decision would address ongoing weed control challenges, but include tighter restrictions, such as added buffering requirements and a possible ban and application during high temperatures. A draft EPA statement describes the move as the most, quote, protective dicamba registration in the agency's history. Producers were unable to use dicamba last year after a 2024 court ruling vacated previous registrations. This would mark the third time EPA has approved the herbicide after earlier approvals were blocked by federal courts that said the agency underestimated the risk of off-target drift and damage to neighboring crops. Well, this week, our Tanner Winterhoff could be found at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association CattleCon. This week, they announced its 2026 policy priorities following approval at this year's conference, with a strong focus on boosting producer profitability. NCBA says priorities including reducing regulatory costs, defending free markets, expanding trade opportunities, and maintaining strong beef demand were some of those priorities. President-elect Gene Copenhaver says the group built momentum in 2025 with key tax and regulatory wins, including expanded estate tax exemptions, new waters of the U.S. rules, and the repeal of the Bureau of Land Management's Public Lands Rule. Looking ahead, NCBA's 2026 agenda centers on regulatory reform, animal health protections, and market access. The organization plans to push for stronger safeguards against foreign animal diseases like New World Screwworm, expand export opportunities for U.S. beef, promote science-based nutrition policy, improving trucking flexibility for livestock haulers, and address workforce challenges across the beef supply chain to prevent processing disruptions. Also noted that this year's conference was record-breaking, so a lot of great news that was found there at this year's CattleCon.
It's looked like a fun one from social media. Maybe a little colder than usual this time of year in Nashville, but certainly a good crowd nonetheless. Well, a bipartisan group of former leaders from major farm and biofuels organizations, along with former USDA officials, are warning Congress that the U.S. farm economy is in serious trouble. In a letter sent this week to congressional agriculture leaders, the group says current conditions put American agriculture at risk of widespread collapse, citing rising bankruptcies, shrinking profitability, and a historic agricultural trade deficit. The letter sharply criticizes the Trump administration's policies, saying they have harmed U.S. agriculture and weakened farmers' global competitiveness, despite claims the industry is headed toward a golden age. The group points to a steep loss in export market share, noting U.S. whole soybean exports have fallen from 47% of the global market in 2018 to just over 24% today, while Brazil has gained more than 20% market share. The leaders also warn that continued financial stress threatens family farms and rural communities. Supporting those concerns at a recent American Farm Bureau analysis shows crop farmers facing a fourth straight year of losses, with accumulated losses expected to exceed $50 billion by the 26-27 crop year, even as the USDA projects input costs will continue to rise. Certainly can attest to some of that concern as well. Michelle, I was at the Iowa Ag Expo yesterday, chatting with a few different exhibitors. They are input providers mostly, and they said they're also very concerned about the future of farm economy, since so much of their business relies on farmers. A lot of the ones that I talked to here in the state of Iowa said they're doing everything they can to keep input costs low, maybe not decreasing costs, but certainly working not to increase costs, because they recognize a lot of their customers are right on the line of having to make a tough decision within the next year or so if things don't shift around for farm economy.
Certainly a lot of pressures that the farm economy is facing, but here's some news. The Farm Bill is making some progress. House Agriculture Committee Chair G.T. Thompson is tentatively planning to mark up a new farm bill during the week of February 23rd. Politico reports the timing is based on discussions with multiple sources familiar with the plan. While the bill text has not yet been released, it's expected to closely mirror the version that cleared committee in 2024, but failed to become law. However, the markup could slip if the Congressional Budget Office does not deliver cost estimates in time. House Agriculture Republicans are aiming to move the bill to the floor before the Easter recess. Thompson has referred to the package as Farm Bill 2.0, which is expected to address key priorities, including rural development, agriculture research, and potentially year-round E15, as lawmakers push to finalize long-term farm policy. Just one last EPA-related news, that the EPA and USDA have issued a new guidance clarifying that farmers and independent mechanics can temporarily override emissions controls to repair agricultural equipment as long as systems are restored afterward. The move removes a legal gray area that has long limited farmers' access to repair tools and software, reducing costly downtime during critical planting and harvest periods. Officials say the guidance does not weaken environmental standards, but protects farmers' rights to maintain their own equipment, potentially saving the industry up to $48 billion nationwide. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins framed it as both a property rights and a food security issue, emphasizing that timely, affordable equipment maintenance should be a given for American farmers. So, good piece of news there, but like we mentioned, Delaney, it's Super Bowl, or the big party weekend.
I know, we don't even really have any big Super Bowl plans, but I was just thinking about what foods do I want to eat for the Super Bowl. Michelle, what are your go-tos?
Chips and dip, and queso. I love my cheese, of course, as a Wisconsinite.
I would agree with you there. I'm not being from Wisconsin, but still love the cheese and the chicken wings and all the different foods. But to end with kind of a fun note here as we think about heading into Super Bowl weekend, the role of farmers and ranchers in feeding the nation, with staples like chicken wings, cheese, chips, pizza, and guacamole coming from all 50 states and Puerto Rico. Faith Parham of the American Farm Bureau Federation notes farmers facing rising production costs and tight margins receive just 16 cents of every food dollar consumed. The National Chicken Council projects Americans will consume about 1.48 billion, yes, billion with a B, wings this year, enough to stretch 27 times from Gillette Stadium to Lumen Field, underscoring, again, the importance of agriculture's scale and impact on the big game day spread.
Well, heading into this week's interview, like mentioned, our Ag News Daily Tanner Winterhoff has been going to different shows, including the U.S. Custom Harvesters Incorporated convention last week. Let's hear an interview he had with owner and visionary leader of KRONE Agriculture, Bernard Krone.
I have the privilege to sit down with Bernard Krone from KRONE. Is it just KRONE or KRONE Industries?
No, it's KRONE.
KRONE?
Yeah, everybody says KRONE. We say, in Germany, we say Maschinenfabrik Bernard Krone GmbH, but
yes,
that sounds a little bit more complicated in English.
It does. What he said, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So welcome to our little podcast corner here at the show. Thank you again for taking time. Remind our listeners, there is a fleet of products that KRONE offers, but what's the overarching mission of KRONE?
So our most important products are the hay and forage equipment we are producing, tedders, rakes, mowers, round balers, large square balers, forage wagons, which are not that common, I think, in the U.S., but we produce them pretty often for the European market, and then the self-propelled mowers and the self-propelled forage harvesters.
We just had a couple of young dairy farmers here filling out our survey to try and win that toolbox over there, and they were very, very high-spoken on their KRONE products that they had. Super excited to get their tractor-mounted triple mower that's coming their way. Excited to put that into the field for their dairy.
Yeah, good, yeah.
There's a lot of your equipment that are being ran in their operations. It's pretty popular amongst custom operators. So how long have you been selling products in the U.S.?
Pretty much over 50 years now.
Yeah.
We established our own daughter company 52 years ago. I'm pretty sure that we sold already equipment earlier to that. But yeah, the U.S. always was and still is, for us, the biggest and most important market in the world, beside Germany. And it is a very professional, demanding market. So I think if you want to be competitive in that market, if you want to be good in that market, successful in the U.S. market, you have to have a high level of really good products. And yes. I think we are among these manufacturers who can provide this product.
And my notes say it started in Germany in 1906?
That's correct, yeah. I'm struggling a little bit with that date because we have a discussion going on in our family that we started earlier, 9 years earlier, as a blacksmith. My great-grandfather as a blacksmith in a rented workshop. But in 1906 they started at their own farm in Speller, in their own barn, so to say. Yep. They started that business, and that's why we say, okay, 1906 is the original date when we started, yes.
And it's been a family business the whole time?
All since.
So that makes you third generation?
Fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
Yes.
And your role right now is you're the leader of the Americas, or what's your position?
No, I'm the chairman of the advisory board. I'm the owner of the company. And we have, I would say, a really good staff around the world. Yeah. We have very good managing directors here in North America. They are based in Olive Branch, Mississippi, in our headquarters, and we have really good staff. But, you know, during such an event, when the U.S. customer meeting is going on, the annual meeting, I think this is a pretty good way to say hello here and show that we are still a family-owned business, and meeting customers from all over the United States, and got a feedback firsthand regarding our products, our service, and everything is so crucial, so important to me, but also to our company, that this is a really good opportunity to get it firsthand and bring it back to Germany.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've been told that some of your favorite jobs is to be in your work boots out on the farm watching the machines running.
That is, nothing I do every day, but it is really belongs to my favorite things. That see the machines running. I'm not a good operator, by the way. I'm sure here in Des Moines are much better operators. Even the young ones are much better than me. But I like to see the machines running, and I like to get in touch with customers. That is, for me, the most important point.
It is very important to get that feedback, like you said, to be able to take back to Germany and put that into action. So let's take a couple of minutes and talk about your featured products. Let's start with the forage harvester. Tell us about the Big X.
Last year we celebrated 25 years of self-propelled forage harvesters of KRONE, and I think especially this machine is a very good example what is developing R&D work, get a machine started like that from a scratch. A very good example how we are working and what is all about with the KRONE company, because this machine pretty much was designed by listening to the customers, what they want, what they need, and where do they see the future development is going. So we have listened to the customer. And that was how we developed this machine, and of course, when you start with such a product, you're not introducing it to the market and they say, okay, now you can work with this, everything is fine, good luck. No, we keep on listening, and we keep on developing, and we make it better every day. And are there sometimes challenges or problems? Definitely. But we do not run away from this. Yeah, we take care about this. That is also what I would say German engineering is all about. Do we have better engineers than American engineers or Japanese engineers? Probably not. But the mentality of our company is that we listening, and every time we hear something from the customer, out of the market, we try to make it better.
It's a impressive machine. You've got one on display. I went over there and saw the booth. I can't believe how big they've gotten. It's got over 1,150 horsepower in your biggest machine. That puts out a ton of tons. That is a very high productive machine.
Yes, it is.
And you take kind of the same approach to your mower conditioners. Not only can you mount your mower conditioners to a tractor, but you also have the Big M, which is self-propelled as well. How'd you come about making that?
That was an idea of our R&D department when they listened to the customers. We said, okay, the demand for such a machine is really high, and let's give it a try. That is also, I would say, a part of our mentality. We are not sitting there and a bunch of R&D people and figure out something interesting and then working on that for years in a maybe dark and quiet room in our basement. No, we go out, we do a lot of testing, and then we try to get it going. And sometimes it's a success, often maybe, but not always. So is it a little bit of try and error sometimes? Definitely. Yeah. I think that's a general mentality of many family businesses.
Yeah, it's neat to see when I got to talk to some of your representatives here. Well, if we switch to the baler conversation, they take high pride in the dependability. Both round balers and big square balers, that they understand it's a very time-sensitive task to make the best quality of feed or to take and make the best quality of bedding. That probably speaks to the engineering there as well.
Yes, and I think with our HDP high-density technology, we some kind revolutionize. Is that the right word?
Yes.
In English?
Yep.
Yeah? This kind of business, yeah, and this kind of machine. So, and we are, I would say, still pretty much the only one in the world who really can provide these HDP technology, and I think that's why we are on a very high and good market position. We are very satisfied with our machines, but we are still hungry because we have so much ideas, and we get. It's great to get a positive feedback, but we have still so much ideas in which direction this can go in the future, and I think we're on a pretty good way.
And it's exciting for me to see that your team has made a dedicated approach to making sure that if somebody wanted to be a Krone customer for all their forage business, you also have the support tools, the hay rakes, the tedders, both in small and large scale, like you already mentioned, the forage boxes, to where they can have the trust of Krone from start to finish.
Yes. I think, we consider ourselves not as a how do you call it, a long liner or a full liner. We consider ourselves as a hay and forage specialists, and there where we are focused on, and I think we have a really good and wide product line regarding these tools.
One thing that we've noticed as being a part of the Uchi family here is Uchi puts a high focus on safety. And there's a lot of safety factors that are implemented in your line as well. I think a couple of them that I've been shared with is you've got your safe cut cutter bar that will prevent shearing, or at least help make sure that those machines are not going to be put into a dangerous situation. You also have the Vario Pack belt and slat baling chamber, which again helps with that high density bale, but provides safety factors to where we don't break parts. And the list just keeps going. Why is safety important to Krone?
Maybe it is also a little bit of our German heritage. You know, the Germans, I think, are widely known as people who love all sorts of regulations, and that is driven our developments, and that is, this mentality is deeply in our DNA. So and we have seen accidents and all sorts of difficult situations, and that's why we believe we also have to take this in our R&D process, and I think we have a lot of good ideas implemented in the last couple of years.
And the last question I wanted to tackle with you is about the implementation of technology. It's not the old 2-row chopper that we used to have. It's a lot more sensors, a lot more advanced technology going into the manufacturing of these products. Your engineers have made that front and foremost as well.
Yes, I think we are very much driven by the thought or the idea that we want to make machines easy to operate. Our customers should be put in the situation that they can work with the machines with a high reliability, of course, and earn money with the machines. And that, of course, sometimes makes the machine more complex, more complicated with all these technology, but therefore we need a good support, good service staff in the field, and also good support for our dealers and service partners. But I think we have gone here a pretty good way, and I think we are successful. And the volumes and the numbers we achieve, especially here in the United States, is very satisfying for us, and we want to grow,
Yeah, and I want to congratulate you. Last year, Krone was the vendor of the year for the custom harvesters. So obviously they think very highly of you. Every farmer, every custom operator that's come by speaks very highly of the Krone brand. I think you have a lot to be proud of. You already know this, but I was unaware that you also export to over 60 different countries. So the Krone equipment is worldwide.
Yes, that was something my father told me very often. He died in October 2022. He told me very often that right after, we, as a company, when you are nearly 100, or this year 120 years old, then you have survived 2 world wars in Europe. You have overcome many crises. Even today, when sometimes we talk about tariffs and these things, we want to make sure that the customers in the world understand we are there, and we want to be successful with you, because right after the Second World War, our company went to the Netherlands, started there, and then went to other neighboring countries, and as I said, very early we came to the United States. We are here for over 50 years, and we love the country. We love the mentality of the people. They are demanding, which is good for us, good for our business, which is also good for other markets. Yeah, and it keeps us hungry and awake. Is that a good word?
Yes, it is.
Our home is Germany. We have a certain German mentality, but we feel home in all over the markets in the world.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. It's not only a pleasure, but a privilege to be able to sit down with you. I know that your team's super busy here at the show, so I don't want to take any more of your time. Just want to say thank you one more time.
And I say thank you for having me.
Well, Delaney, what's happening in markets this week?
Well, a few big things markets are watching. Of course, weather in South America as we wrap up getting into some harvest season there. But a big story headline this week was the European Union's decision to delay finalizing a trade deal with the United States, which continues to add to uncertainty. Of course, the EU is the 3rd largest U.S. agricultural trading partner, so certainly not the news we had hoped to receive this week. On the Chinese front, while it's doubtful China will import their total commitment of 295 million bushels that is being reported, any added demand for the soy complex is certainly bullish given the tight ending stocks that we've seen reported as of the recent WASDE report. And soybeans remained the leader of the market into Friday's close. This was the ongoing results of the higher demand outlook with China, as well as ongoing delays actually to Brazilian exports. After trading sideways the past couple of months, March corn broke out to the downside before finding support at that 420 level, doing a double bottom at that mark. And then we've rebounded since then, and the contract has been forming an upward channel. Cattle did find support from the sizable drop in carcass weight over the past week and some of those cattle on feed numbers that you reported earlier in the show, Michelle. But this decline was credited to cattle moving ahead of winter storms and also to capture some of those elevated cash values. The outside markets were pressured this week as well by negative labor news, as January layoffs totaled 108,000, the highest since January of 2009, when the U.S. was in the Great Recession. This was a large 205% increase from December and 18% more than layoffs that we saw in January of 2025, signaling a greater question with U.S. recession and what the future of the U.S. economy looks like. So that is a quick update here on some of the markets that we've been watching for this week.
Certainly a lot of news, and we continue to share it on social media, so feel free to check us out on YouTube, to TikTok, and Facebook. So many other ways to stay in touch with us. And Commodity Classic will just be a few weeks away.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing there. But Michelle, what do you say for now? We let the people go.
Working and